we were brainwashed, and people of our ilk, or take some of you guys born around in the 70s, that you can't print money out of thin air. Right? That's an oxymoronic statement. You are brainwashed into thinking government should not control the volume of credit in the system, and it's the complete opposite. The government should control the volume of credit in the system because credit is our currency. That currency is backed by the Australian people, right, and all the wealth in this country. So the issue needs to be, and this is, if I take away one thing today, and I know you've got a lot of business people who watch this show, there is one other form. There's two types of credit capital, right? You've got debt and you've got equity, right? What is debt? And you've got, obviously on the other side of the balance sheet, you've got an asset. If I say I've got a tractor and you're an auditor, what are you going to look for?
What
you're going to look for a tractor. You're going to go out to the farm and you're going to look for a tractor and you're going to look for an invoice that says the farmer, you bought a tractor. If you've got debt, what are you going to look for? What's the physical instrument behind debt?
The asset.
No. Physical instrument that says you've got debt. It's a legal instrument.
Like the loan.
It's a mortgage.
The loan document.
Yeah, it's actually a legal document. Right? Now, what's the legal instrument behind equity?
Shares. Share statement.
Shares, but what is shares? What is it? You have what?
The piece of a company.
The pink slip.
You have title.
Yep.
Okay? What's Australia? It's a sovereign country. What does it mean? We have title.
We have title in the country.
Over all of our wealth in this country, step one. But step two, something even more important, we have title over all the untapped wealth in this country. And the untapped wealth is every time it rains, every time the sun shines, every time you drop a bull in a paddock with 20 cows and you come back next year, you get 20 calves, that wealth is coming out of the sky, right, for free, right? Mother Nature creates wealth all the time. But what we've done when we privatised our dams and we privatised our power stations and we sold our ports, we have now given the benefits of that all. We've gone and borrowed heaps of foreign debt, like after 1985 and pork eating dropped capital controls.
Yeah.
We went and brought in all this foreign debt. We now pay so much interest offshore just to use our own currency. So yeah, we don't our central bank, apart from COVID where they printed $300 billion to pay people to stay at home and get brainwashed by the premiers, we don't print money in this country. We do something even dumber. We go and borrow printed money and then pay other countries interest on their currency that we've switched into ours to use our own currency.
How do you fix that, though?
Well, we need to re-educate people. So the answer is this. It's not a question of whether or not you print money out of thin air. It's whether you secure it against an asset or not. So BHP, if I said to you, BHP have just announced the share raising to build a new coal mine, no one would go, oh, BHP can't issue new shares out of thin air, would they? Right? Well, why can't the government issue infrastructure bonds, the federal government through an infrastructure bank, back to the state governments to build dams, power stations, tunnels, railway lines, ports and airports? Because this is what we've got to do. We've got to rebuild, right, our country.
But is that a good investment to invest in those bonds in a world where there is more and more debt being raised? I mean,
but here's the thing: from a consolidated point of view, it's not debt; it's equity, because we have equity over our own untapped wealth. So if we build a dam today for $1 billion, we will go offshore and we will borrow $1 billion offshore. Means the first $1 billion in wealth we create, we've got to repay offshore. Plus, let's say it took 25 years to pay it off at 4%. That's another 100% in interest. We've just paid $2 billion offshore to build a dam that we already owned.
So is what you're saying? Since 1971, the US has basically raised debt to financialize Wall Street instead of raising debt to build infrastructure.
Absolutely.
What you're saying is we need to raise debt, not to give stimmy checks and to financialize the ASX or the companies within the ASX. We need to build infrastructure that we
tangible things
that Australia owns,
yeah,
that can get a return.
Only certain sovereign assets, right? So the ones I just listed.
We've given away a lot of the other ones already.
Dams, power stations, toll roads or tunnels, railway lines, ports, airports, and telecommunications. Right, they're our sovereign assets that generate income. So you put over here, you got the infrastructure bank. Now the beauty of doing that is what that means is instead of paying interest overshore, you're paying dividends back to the infrastructure bank. Yep. And then that comes back to the federal government. So we're keeping the wealth that we create here in Australia.
So can we talk about that for a minute? Because I I think we could argue whether it's better that the private sector builds or the government builds.
Different question.
But I think there's benefit in both. The building is the answer, right? We need to build productive assets.
Yes.
Right? Whoever builds them. Versus the amount of subsidies to go into property. Do you consider property to be a productive asset versus building into infrastructure? Because that seems to be the government's current playbook here, is to subsidize property through 5% and first home buyers grants.
So this comes back to the capital controls.
What's your thought on that?
So hang on. So I'll just go back to that using debt. We're not using debt. We're using equity. So as infrastructure bonds, sure, they're a debt to the state government, but they're an asset to the Australian people because we have shares in the infrastructure bank. Now, when you pay that interest back to the infrastructure bank and it makes money over here, and then we go back and we set up another Commonwealth Bank. So for your listeners, most of your listeners probably know the Commonwealth Bank used to be owned by the Australian public. You have what you call a savings bank over here, and I'll touch on this savings bank in a minute. The profit from the savings bank. So the four major banks make about 35 billion, close to $40 billion. So we'll divide, instead of dividing 40 billion by 4, we'll divide 40 billion by 5. So we'll shave a couple of points off their return on equity. And what we'll do is we'll make about 6 to 8 billion over here. We'll set the infrastructure bank up to make 6 to 8 billion over here. And then we're going to create a bank in the middle called the Development Bank. And this was started by Robert Menzies in 59, to all you liberals getting all antsy about me interfering with finance. And that will then re-lend money to the state governments on non-productive assets like schools and hospitals or the councils for sewage works. Right now, by doing this, what we're doing is we're taking out the cost of finance on our own currency. And we will save tens of billions of dollars because we effectively now pay private banks to borrow our own money. This is the government, right?
Is there a country at the moment that is doing something similar that you can point to, like analogous to this?
Well,
who operates this way?
Well, I mean, it's happened here in Australia twice. It happened first time by a bloke by the name of Lachlan Macquarie. So the first 17 years of the colony, the colony relied on foreign currency. There was a drought in 1805. There was no currency left, so they started bartering rum. That literally went tits up. So Lachlan Macquarie was the first governor to come in after that rum rebellion, and he issued the holy dollar. So that was the Spanish bloom, and he punched a hole in it. And with that holy dollar, he financed the construction of those sandstone buildings you see in Macquarie Street today, like Sydney Hospital, Sydney Barracks. And of course, who uses the holy dollar as its logo today, guys? Macquarie Bank.
Right.
And what was their business model? How'd they get off the ground? They were the middleman in all the privatisation of our infrastructure in the early 1990s.